Well, I'm delighted to say I am joined by Jonathan Burns, son of the late great Tommy Burns. And this week is bound to be quite emotional, Jonathan, because the programme comes out on Friday. First of all, how difficult was it for all the family to actually agree to this in the first place?
It was actually quite an easy decision for us, Peter. Because we actually knew of the work that had been done before, in the Famous Five films and the Jinky Johnson films, and they were great. So I think we were actually quite excited, that they were making one about my dad, and when we got the phone call to be involved, obviously it was a kind of no brainer. Um, it was great just to go in there and kind of revisit some old memories and things like that. And it was good fun doing it as well.
Yeah, I mean, it's good that Margot obviously has an insight into Celtic, and of course, the whole Purple TV team have a good track record of success. And when you look at the movie, it really is a celebration of Tommy's life, but also I think it delves a wee bit deeper into the kids and their recollections as well. How emotional was that for you and the rest, your brother and the two girls to look back?
Yeah, I mean, I think given the kind of character he was, since he passed, it just left a massive void in all our lives, and it's a void that won't be filled. I think you just learn to live with it, and um, so it's not kind of every day that you go in and you talk about him, I mean, we think about him every day, obviously, but it's not really the regular that you would go in and speak about the diagnosis or his illness or memories that you had, and so parts of that are emotional for sure, but also, like I say, it's not everybody that has the kind of brilliant memories that we had, and it's some hysterical stories, so it's a piece of work that we can look back on for the rest of our lives and watch, and that's something that we're very grateful to Margot and the rest of the team for.
Yeah, I mean, I watched the program, laughed. You're at the edge of trying to stop yourself from crying at some of the sadder moments in it. I thought it was one of those programs where at the tail end of it, I thought it was very emotional because all of you seemed willing to talk about the final days, which for me would have been incredibly difficult to do. How was it for you?
Yeah, I mean, that was tough. I think it's like kind of strange. I think when you're in that environment at the time, you were kind of almost used to the fact that his illness was in the papers, or there was a lot of things being written or reported, and I think that was, I think for us at that time that was just a sense of normality. Do you know what I mean? Whereas it's not really. It's not something that happens in everyday life. So I think when you're then kind of speaking about it, that I think your experiences in the past maybe make it easier a little bit, because you can kind of sit back and say, well, everybody kind of knows what was happening anyway, So I think it was a difficult one to kind of sit and revisit that. I think his last days were, again, strangely enough, kind of filled with laughter, because you had the doctor in the house, and he was telling them how rubbish he was at his job, obviously, and all that kind of stuff, as he's lying there. So, it was, there was even funny moments then, but no, for sure, it's a tough thing, you kind of need to speak about.
I think from everyone who knew him, and I count myself lucky that, for a long period of time I had the chance to go and play him at football, play with him at football, and have a great bit of banter with him. I sensed right across Scotland and beyond, there were so many people that could just actually say they were in his company and got to know him, even for a small percentage of the time. How does that make you feel that to a man and woman, everyone seemed to have something really positive to say about him in their small, brief moments with him?
Yeah, one of the funny things is, something I listen to quite often is your podcast that you done with him when I think he was at Reading or Newcastle at the time, I'm assuming. and he's actually speaking about that, and he's speaking about when you meet somebody that might only be the 10 seconds in their life that they ever meet you, and it's the kind of impression that you leave on them. And I think, to be fair, I don't think there was anybody better at that. I think even if he did spend half a minute with you, he'd make you feel like you were the most important person in the world for that half a minute, and he was always wary of that. I don't think he ever wanted to be seen as that kind of big time Charlie or anything like that. I think he went out his way to always make time for people, and you always hear stories and things like that. And there's so many stories that people don't know that aren't in the public, that he done as well. And I don't think he ever looked for any thanks, which was, I think, just the kind of person he was. He just went and done it because it was the right thing to do.
Yeah, I mean, you might not know this. I might as well share it with you. On my stag night, we decided to have an 11-a-side game in Edinburgh, and him and Starkey came through. And knowing your dad as you do, he gave me a nickname. He called me Benny from Top Cat, and over and above that, he just would not tolerate us losing the game, even if it was a kickabout on my stag night. He was like, "There's no way we're losing this." I mean, he hated getting beaten at anything.
No, and I remember several nights as well where he gave you a call and made you get an 11 together to go to Barrowfield, and those games would roll on to 80 minutes per half, because he wasn't leaving there till they were a goal up, It was the old next goal a winner shout. So, oh no, he was. People kind of say that all the time, that he was a lovely guy, and he was the best guy, but he was a ferocious competitor as well. He wouldn't want to lose at anything, particularly in football.
Can I ask you this? What was he like away from football as a dad?
It was unbelievable. I spent a lot of time with him around the football. I used to go into work with him most days, which my exam results can testify to. So, I mean, when I went into work with him, you used to see him, and when he lost it, he was. You wouldn't want to be around him. I seen him blast a couple of players, and he had a side to him, definitely. But even then, I think the players loved him because I think he kind of had that father figure balance with them. Do you know what I mean? Particularly the lads that maybe came from abroad. Ireland, Italy, all these places. Darren O'Day. I think that they kind of looked up to him, and I think he kind of had that side to him there as well. I always said that he got that balance right. For me, I mean, obviously, it's hard to put yourself in that position, but I think to be involved in kind of professional football, it must be hard to leave your work at the door, But he did, he never seemed under stress, and he never seemed, to really let it wear him down. He just got that balance absolutely right, and when he was at home, and he was away from it all.
Yeah, your mum obviously has kept a dignified silence because he was an unbelievable shining light, and undoubtedly, the love of her life. I mean, that in itself comes across in the programme. Even although there was only little snapshots, it must be very, very difficult to, as a family, look back in this and not have him with you. I mean, do you miss him?
Oh, every day. Every day. I mean, I don't think that there's, like I say, it was just, I don't know, it's like a massive void in your life, and you keep thinking that, oh, you'll see him again, or you can pick up the phone, and that's 10 years later, so it's definitely something that the reason why we're lucky, Peter, is we get to look back on programmes like this, or we get to go on podcasts or YouTube and hear his voice and hear him talking, and that's not something that many families get the kind of privilege of doing, So we're very lucky in that way, and look, I mean, I think he was. I think the kind of comfort was that he was so kind of profound in his faith that I think he was at total peace with himself, which helps. I think if somebody's kind of, terrified and is always kind of, I don't want to go, it's not much. But it wasn't like that at all. It was always a kind of case of, look, it's my time, and but no, we miss him every day, every single day.
The best way to finish this is, how would you? How do you think your dad would look upon this programme? Because I think Margot and them have done a great job. I'm sure you have thanked him a million times. How do you think he would look upon it?
I think he would. Knowing the modest guy that he was, no, he would absolutely love it. I think he would have slaughtered McGrain. Done his running. It was always put to me that it was the other way around. But no, he would absolutely love it. He always called himself the best left foot that Celtic ever had. So I'm pretty sure that he would have been reminding a few people about that in the film.
Well, listen, I hope you're keeping his legacy going over there in America. Are there traits of Tommy Burns in the way you coach the kids in your teams?
I try. I don't know if I'll ever be anywhere near that level, but I try. I think one of the things that I got from him was, I think he was a brilliant, kind of people manager. I think he was brilliant with people, and I think he could always get the best out of people. So I think that's something I would certainly like to work on and develop. Tactically, it was rotten, but he was certainly a guy that left a lot of things to live up to, and it's, if I could be 10% of what he was, I'd be a happy man.